Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Tarot Stash, and today I am joined by Linda de Gonzalez and Val's Dragonfly Crystals. Today we're talking about, we're doing a deck casual for Amy Miranda's What We've Forgotten Oracle deck. Now, please give us a thumbs up in the chat to let us know if you have this deck and that, because this is a new to me deck, because it's new to me because I saw Val using it and I saw Linda using it. I've seen Alice use it, and I've also seen Marina use it. So, but first, let's say hello. Linda, how are you? What's going on?
Oh, I'm fine. Thanks for asking. I don't have a life, so there's nothing going on except being here with like two fabulous people. I'm so happy to be here with you two. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, there's nothing going on except just me being, Cocker Spaniel. Woo, happy, happy, joy, joy.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Val, and how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here because this is one of my favorite decks that it's been since I've got it. Absolutely, I just am in sync with it, and I love it for readings. Absolutely, and I have tomorrow. Allie, Heart and Soul Connected, and I come on Dragonfly Crystals channel to do our questions Q&A for the Akashic Record Masters, just spiritual questions of the universe, not personal questions, but they're questions we have in advance. So it's quite interesting. And Alice, aka Alice, will be channeling the Akashic Record Masters
nice.
tomorrow. So tune in for that. I'll have it on my channel posted so that you can see when it is, and I'll be setting that up. So,
and Standing in Light with Annie Bear 7F said, just loved the show you did last week, Val.
Oh, good.
Everything simple, clear. Love it. Appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, Annie Bear.
So, and so you also, okay, both Linda and Val's links are below. So please go over and show your support. It lets them know that you appreciate them. Also, we're going to be talking about this amazing deck. And I have to say, purchase responsibly, know your limits. We are here to share, not to sell. If you are interested in finding out about all things Amy Miranda, her link is below. Their link is below, and they do a whole lot.
Yes, she even does readings too. It's not just the cards. Yeah,
I don't know when this person, has a chance to do that, but
yeah,
yes, and we've got a lot of wonderful people joining us. Thank you, everybody. I am hoping to keep this to an hour. He says, I'm hoping to keep this to an hour, so forgive me if I'm not saying hello to everyone individually. However, it's great to see so many people here. This is wonderful. Some people are just stopping in and running late. It's okay. You're here. That's all that matters. Okay, and I do see Deanne, Blue Crescent Tarot here, who is the originator of the Sip Sip.
Ooh.
In her honor, sip, sip.
I don't have a cup.
There you go. So this deck, okay, and again, here's my preparation. I've got back with notes. And there's some people who are lurking as well.
Hi, Purple Elephant.
Okay, so this deck came out in 2023. It is a 2-part box, and it does have the thumb section so that you can get them out. It's a good size. It's a nice box. We'll just, it's a nice box. It's great. And so, okay. So who, let me back up. See here. I'm so damn excited. I'm just going, I'm so damn excited. I'm struggling with keeping focus. So, everybody,
Welcome to my world, Gerald. That's all I got to say.
yes. So here you go, everybody. Think about this. This section of the video is brought to you by the word wonder. Everyone say it with me. Wonder. Wonder. A cause of astonishment or admiration. Be wonderful and like, share, and subscribe to our channels. Wonder. I specifically picked that word because it's in the guide.
It's a card, yeah.
Because it's a significant part.
Yes.
Donna Marie said, I wonder if I would get lost. So I do have a little bit of a surprise that I did not tell Val and Linda about. And so everybody, please welcome to the stage the creator.
Oh, wow. Oh, Amy.
It's so nice to meet you all. Thank you for inviting
I can't tell you how fun your deck is. So beautiful. It's like it's like an addiction. It's really the most powerful tool I've found so far to really help somebody on their journey. It's so hits the sweet spot of connecting to spirituality. So I'm so excited.
What she said.
It's so nice to be here.
Thank you very much. I know you're very busy, and I do appreciate you sharing some of your time with us. And I did warn Amy in the email that I sent, we are going to be heaping praise in her general direction. So please be ready for that.
Yes.
And so, and I know, we were just getting started and talking about this. So, Amy, you have my permission to go. I don't want to answer that, Gerald. It's okay. I mean, I get it.
Thank you.
I can do that. And oh, look, Hypnicity is like, excellent deck.
Oh.
Thank you. And here you go. Wow, welcome.
Oh, beautiful.
And
so grateful to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
I'm so excited that you're here.
No wonder Gerald had such ants in his pants. I did. I don't know if you saw that, Amy. I was just like, oh my God.
No wonder.
So, okay, so I'm going to first ask Val and Linda to tell us how they came across the deck. And then, Amy, I'd love to hear from you how the deck came to be in a brief say. So should we start with Val, since she was the one who spotted it first?
I mean, I had to have it once I saw it because, it is one of the most beautiful decks you'll ever see. It's just magnetic. So it was Alice, Allie of Heart and Soul Connected, who was using these as we were doing readings together for people in the community. And I was like, just knocked out. They were so spot on and addressed every corner of what you need to remember about what you're here to do and bring forward in your life to really set you on your divine plan path in full. And it is just miraculous to find a set of cards that are this comprehensive and touch everything. I mean, and they're exquisite. So that's very priceless to me.
Oh yeah. So, Linda, how'd you come across it?
I saw Allie use Allie or maybe Val. Okay, I can't remember. Using it and just fell in love at first sight and put it on my wish list. And my dear chatter friend Shenanigans sent it to me. It was a lovely gift, and it's become the deck I use the most, I think. It's certainly every time I'm pulling cards, that's where I'm going. I find I have the same things to say about it as Val does, actually. I don't have anything really original to say about it, except that, wow, those images are juicy. Oh my God, I could sink into them. I could swim in them. I could dream in them. Yes, that's all I've got to say.
I agree 100%.
Linda, do you need a minute?
Oh yes, please. I'm just feeling a little verklempt here, you know?
Well, I have to say, I came across this deck because I saw several people using this. I saw Linda using it, and I'm like going, something about this, because every time I've seen the card, the images in action,
Yeah.
there's a vibration that is put out, and I get that vibration. And so when individuals are using the deck, there's a resonance about it, and that resonance goes, Gerald, pay attention. And at some point, I think I heard one of my guides say, imagine what you could do if you had that deck, Gerald.
Oh, sure. Put it on your guides, Gerald. Yeah, why not?
And of course, I'm going, I don't need that deck in order to be able to do this. And they're like going, no, you don't. But how much better would it be? I went, all right. Yeah. Go ahead, Val.
I just want to say, I love your description of that resonance, that frequency as you're using them. Holy cow. Yes. You were very eloquent in saying it that way, describing it. Yes.
It absolutely hits the sweet spot in terms of readings, because most of the readings that I do are online, and it is a deeply, powerfully moving deck to use for the quick reads that we all do online. It is really,
they're so deep. They're so deep and dense with information inside each card. It's just exquisite, really.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to stop talking. Amy, thank you for joining. I hope we have not scared you overly too much. So
I'm so grateful for your energy and excitement, and I'm glad you get it, because we just recently took back the rights to my works. And thank you. Yeah. Yes. So it's very exciting to hear that you get it, and to hear that the work that I did around it, and the work that, I think, it probably goes without saying, but we say it anyway, that we're vessels, right? That we're vessels and channels. And I always say to people, because I sort of crossed the line from being in, a production world. I was an executive producer. I still am. But I grew up in the arts. My grandmother was an oil painter. She did this piece behind me when she was 89 years old. So I grew up, and I'll just show you. The art direction in the book is the art direction of me. It's my work. And for me, it was one of those moments where, I'm sure everyone can relate to the feeling of being different. And being, an other, so to speak, or, not fitting in, or And for me, I mean, my company, my production company, creative company is called Lunch because I always thought that lunch was the time where you got to like find the others. Like it was based on the lunchbox or what you would find the kids that were like you.
Yes.
So when I had a dream that became the cover of the book. I mean, my story is, you know, like most people, we don't handle our trauma. Yes. You know, most of us aren't, you know, we didn't grow up in situations where, you know, we were in therapy or, you know, so I grew up just thinking that if I became successful, that everything was going to be great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So of course it's like, when will the fire be? So I ended up, you know, having my own healing journey and, you know, met my teacher, who's a man by the name of Daniel Leonard, who trained with Sandra Ingerman. And I, you know, shamanism changed everything for me. I mean, it was always a witch. I'm a hereditary witch, but we didn't call it that growing up, right? Like that was not a safe word in the household. So it was, you know, we spoke to angels or etc. So, but I grew up with my grandmother channeling. I mean, she was an artist, but she was channeling these other artists because she could sort of paint anything. And so I grew up working with artists. And when I was working on the book, it came out of retreats that I was doing where I've always been a nerd, you know. So there's parts of the book, which is the larger book, which because there's obviously the Oracle deck, but then there's a book that kind of, and they can work together or separately. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so it was the read along era of having the record and the, you know, the record and the book. So for me, that was part of this all coming together. Was I had this dream and I had seen sort of this 3 keyhole kind of theme. And then as it started to evolve, yes, thank you. As it started to evolve, we were working on it. And I think my publisher, like working with any artist, right? She was just like, because everything for me was about the vibration and it was about, you know, 369 and it was about these places feeling enchanted and people being able to, and the book's called Interdimensional Adventure because there's a consciousness that I'm trying to, and a good friend of mine, Paul Rubens, the great Pee Wee Herman, said when he saw the artwork, he was like, this is a portal. And I think they are. And that's what you've described is, you know, that sort of creative spirit, right? Of the spirit. And I felt the same way creating it, where it was like, do we really need this? Like, does the world, because I'm all about climate change and, you know, not positive, obviously, I'm anti-climate change. But I, you know, I had to go through the motions of thinking, is this just another thing that we're making?
Right.
And of course, I had much the same, you know, intelligence that was, of course we have to do this. Like, this is just another avenue in. And I think that's why, you know, what we've forgotten is so powerful to me, because this is what we all, most of us, you know, grew up, we didn't have this. There wasn't divination in our homes.
No.
So, remembering, right? And it's funny because little kids always say to me, little kids and adults who have their inner child open, they ask me, what have we forgotten? Because it's so literal. So when I did a signing, all these kids were coming in and rifling through the deck, which to me was a good sign. But, you know, they asked me, what have we forgotten? And I said, you haven't forgotten anything. I was like, your dad over there? Like, maybe. So of course, then she grabs her dad and her dad's doing a reading and she's reading. And I'm like, that's exactly what it's for. Like, it's meant to be sticky. So the last thing I'll say in my little opening, you know, show here is the star in the center is a picture of Sirius.
Oh, really?
So when we were doing the design, so I didn't ever intend to be someone who was going to be working on the artwork for this. It was not my intention. And through a variety of, you know, divine appointments, I will say, you know, it occurred that I worked on this. And my husband kept saying, like, you're going to do the cover. And I was like, no. And I like, absolutely not. And we were working with incredible designers. His name's Nick Taylor, and he worked on the Tashin books on Esoterica. So he's done beautiful work. And I thought, why would I need to do anything? And then typical producer, I'm like, someone else can do it better. So we ended up working on it, and he was using sort of a lens flare in the center of that space. And I thought to message a good friend of mine who owns a beautiful boutique in Toronto called Geologic Gallery. And he's been a huge, inspiration, mentor of mine about wonder and the reclamation of wonder. And he's also an astrophotographer. So I said to him, I texted him and I said, Peter, do you have like a picture of Sirius? And he sent this one back to me, and he was like, it's a heart. It's a heart of light.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, and that was, to me, I mean, that's what's at the end of the adventure, right? When we go home after this adventure on Earth, we return with a light heart, the weighing of the heart. So I wanted it to feel like you were walking through into, a mythical and enchanted reality. And hearing everything you said before I started gabbing, I love that you felt it, right? And I love that it's doing, because the book, not to have a spoiler, but the book and all of my
spoil. Go for it. Spoil.
But all of my retreats and the book, it ends with find the others. Like, go find the others. Like, get the lunchbox, bring your bird. My cat has been scratching at the door. Be in your element, where, as I kind of showed you, the book is really just an entrance into my own world of growing up around, oil paintings and being taught to oil paint before I could write. So it was following that adventure, which is, I think, what we've forgotten is, I think that's the sort of spirit of it. If it had a spirit, it's that creative spirit and spark, which I always associate with Djibouti or Thoth from ancient Egypt, of that. I always call him the pointy beak, where he's like, just a bit further, like, just come on a bit, the breadcrumbing, right? Where I'm like, I find myself. So that's sort of how the deck was born. It was me following the breadcrumbs on my own adventure, where I thought, okay, do we need this? And of course, yeah, I needed it.
Well, the vibration, now we know how it got that huge energy inside of it. And they are portals, they are doorways into so many different energies. So yes. Now you explained it. Now we know it was infused and channeled through. And
And isn't that something that is true? It's just like going, well, you're creating this and it was for yourself, but why do we need this? Because you needed it, and therefore others are finding it. It's like you're saying, find others, find them, see each other, take each other out to lunch, share the food that's in your lunchbox.
Yeah, exactly, Gerald. Exactly. Like, that's what I think. And I think that's what's missing from the collective right now is that, the invite, where you would find that lunchroom and you would look for your table, you would try to meet eyes, and you would end up eventually finding the right people and then doing those trades. Same with like a loot bag at the end of a birthday party. I'm Canadian, so we called them loot bags, but having that at the end of a birthday party as a kid, where you got a little treat bag, and then usually you kind of got a chance to sort of trade what was in there. And I think that's what, that's what capitalism, it's what we've forgotten, right? We've forgotten this barter and trade and share. And I think that's what, I try to convey with all the work that I do. And obviously that's sort of part of what I used to do and still do when I'm commissioned as an executive producer. But mostly it's about that connective tissue that happens in those moments, whether it's between you and the cards or us here today, and then how that connective tissue brings us together in big and small ways. So I think that's, I grew up very interested in, still am a Taoist and love Taoism. And I love, this idea of, 1,000-mile journey begins with a single step. So, and sometimes that step is through a portal first in non-ordinary reality, and we plant our seeds, and then we watch how it sort of sprinkles down into this. And so I think of my process of creating the book, that was very much hoping and planting the seed that there would be experiences like this, right?
And you did it. You created that place. Well, this is like the lunch. This is lunch, the lunch box.
Yes.
And you're still doing it.
Yeah, I'm
But
hoping.
you
Yeah,
started it, and so it's picking up speed.
Yeah.
thank you.
Annette said the energy in this discussion is so intense. Wish I had not eaten such a big breakfast. LOL. And that's powerful. Take everything that resonates strongly and pay it forward.
Yeah, I think that's our job, right? I think as magical practitioners or, occultists or spiritualists or whatever we want to call ourselves, the others, the weirds, whatever that is, right? Whatever resonates for
Yes.
people, light workers.
Yes.
Part of that is, I think allowing I always say like our little selves to come to the front because they hadn't forgotten, like they knew who they were. I mean, when I was a kid, I knew exactly what I was doing. And I think, and most little kids, I do a lot of volunteer work with kids and I'm an art mentor for kids, but they will tell you like, hold the glue gun, do this. This is what I need from you. And we lose that. So being able to kind of capture these moments of intensity where we do forget to eat or we eat too much or we feel right. I think that's again, I mean, I remember lunchtimes as a kid where when I had found the others, which for me, I mean, I would bring pictures of the Egyptian gods to school to show my Catholic friends. And they were like, whoa, what is this? But being able to use that to find other kids that were like me. And then remembering lunch times where I forgot to eat or I didn't eat my lunch. And then I would bring it home and, of course, get scolded. And I couldn't explain what had happened. Or it was like, how could you not have eaten this? And I'm like, I don't know. Right. I don't. So, thank you.
This is Marina, who is one of the people who I saw using the deck.
So, I'm so grateful.
Yes. And Lightfoot has shared young people need someone to support them in hard times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I actually think a lot of times what is needed is to share space with people.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things about this deck is it allows us to step into a space if we choose or to observe it from a safe distance.
Yes.
It's what is most comfortable. So Linda, I've not let you say anything for a while, so I'm going to say hi, Linda. What are you thinking?
Hi, Gerald. What am I thinking? I'm just. I mean, I feel really stupid right now because I don't have anything to say. Wanda does though, so you could want to have a chat with her.
Yeah.
All right, you can put that aside. You're awesome.
I just am so grateful to have this deck. It's such a fabulous tool in my toolbox, as you know. And the other thing is, you were talking about finding the other weirds. Okay, so I just want to let you know that at work, in my job as a when I was doing technical support, I received an award 3 years running as Queen of Weird.
Oh my gosh,
This is the truth. We still have the award. It's because all the strange calls all seem to end up at my desk. You know, the guy who had his system, I know, the guy who had his system fried by lightning strikes, like every time there was a thunderstorm. And why was that? And it was a buried underground cable. Well, anyway, long story short, yes, I am the Queen of Weird.
Yeah.
This is good. And Barbara has reminded us old people need support too. Looking for my lunchbox group.
Exactly.
Barbara, guess what? Here's part of your lunchbox group.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly, Barbara.
So because I want to honor everyone's time, I do want to share. I am an overachiever. I go through some things and I tell everybody, I don't know if you saw, I have a front and a back of all sorts of notes, just so that everybody knows it's 3.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So this is an RWS tarot deck. So you can see there's, it's a good size. Here's the back of the deck, which is the beautiful cover that you had created. It comes with a little guidebook, which is 86 pages, and it includes a lovely introduction, which you know, I even highlighted, and I'm going to read this because it it doesn't and can't exist without wonder. Wonder is the space we make in our consciousness to leave room for the possibility of magic. It lives in the being that is you and inside the places you're about to visit on this adventure. Hello.
Love it.
So there's also some spreads, how to get to use the deck, how to get to know it. And then each card has its corresponding number. And then we have a little bit of information, a little snapshot, and then details. So there's that. And there's a total of 63 cards. And let me say, Amy, thank you for making 63 cards. I am tired of people stopping at 45. It's
I
like,
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Because that was another, like all these things that you're saying, my face hurts from smiling. Because all of these things were, you know, points where there were conversations. So I'm so grateful for your attention to detail and knowledge, right? So
Aw.
thank you.
well, thank you. I mean, and seriously, it's one of those things that all right, shut up, Gerald. Let's move on. The deck is not edged, so you could edge it. You could add your wonder to it in that way. All of the cards follow a similar format. There's this border around it. There's a number at the top, and then a title, and then the image is encased in that lovely border. So you know,
And that border is like, that's your DNA strands.
Yep.
And that's ISIS at the top, baby. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not, it's more than a border.
Mhm.
It's like, it's radiating that energy there on every card.
well, it's almost like, Amy, you had that planned or something.
It's the protection. Yeah. It was the protection for the card, right? Yeah. So, and that exists in the book. So there's a theme in the book where there's essentially invitations that you're invited on the adventure, and it carries the same frame. So,
I love it.
Yeah, and I'll do a spoiler because it says the invitation at the top, and no one ever does this, but when you flip it over, it says the initiation.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so there's those little breadcrumbs, right? Which I tried to sort of, but I think again, I mean, I grew up with like, you know, choose your own adventure books and,
Yes.
you know, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And there was another great book series called Griffin and Sabine, which was
Love that.
Yeah. So,
Sorry.
Yeah, no, exactly. Right. Nick Bantock. So I had written to Nick Bantock and tried to get him to illustrate the book. And he was like, someone younger should do it. And then, of course, I was like, it was me and Nick Taylor. But it was just, he's going to get it. Did you go get it? Do you have it? Yeah. That I was just going to say, he did a beautiful deck. He'll love this. Nick Bantock did an incredible deck with archetypes. It is absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
So, but yeah, that kind of mystery and intrigue, right? And that correspondence where it feels like, and I think that's what most of us have, you know, have forgotten or lost that connection to the divine. I mean, I grew up Catholic where it was like, you know, I'm not supposed to talk to Jesus directly. I was supposed to talk to Jesus through someone else. And of course, I thought, that would be like talking to a friend of mine through their parents. Like, I want to call my friend and talk to my friend. So I think that was also, you know, this time of being in communion with the divine and having that solo practice, but then also what happens in a reading format is so exciting, right? That correspondence that happens between multiple people. So, yeah.
Donna, artist and oracle, said, I saw Terry at holding your space using the deck, and I could just feel and see the power of it pronto.
You do. I mean, who cannot want it because it just exudes this energy. You just have to get it. It has something for you. There's information that you need from it. And
Yeah. What is really wonderful about it, and I am particularly fond of the title,
Thank you.
What We Have Forgotten. It means we still have it.
Yeah.
We've never lost it.
Mhm.
We just forgot that we had it. And I don't know about you, but I am the kind of person who, oh, I need duct tape. So I get duct tape. Not endorsed, by the way. I get duct tape, and then I go to put the duct tape away. I pull out a drawer, and there's 13, things of duct tape. I thought, oh, well, now I have more. So,
The
but
abundance, right? The abundance of
yes,
duct tape. But also I think that's the world we live in is so full of like notifications, right? And I think for me, I mean, I always say this, whether I'm with clients or, even in a business setting, it's like put yourself in airplane mode, for a second, right?
I
Yeah,
love that.
I agree. Yeah, but this idea of, and just sort of following what our hearts need, right? And setting that space. And, again, that thing that happens when we're in ceremony, right? Which most of us, we're too busy going to the next thing, so if we can have, whether it's pulling one card or whatever those things look like for an individual practice, right? Just having that moment of time, right?
sorry, Kim. Hashtag not sorry. And I forgot.
Everybody's going to have to go out and buy this deck.
This is for entertainment purposes only. Do not make decisions based upon what we say. Seek professional assistance. Really.
Yeah.
So, Amy, how much time do we have with you?
I'm happy to be here for the chat.
Okay.
Oh,
Hallelujah.
now we're spoiled.
Hallelujah. So I don't have to go, okay, which two cards am I going to show? So this is in this portion. And by the way, thank you everybody for being here. Amy, did you see the little short video that I did, the commercial?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Just making sure, because I'll play it again. But one of the things that I noticed as I was getting to know the cards was there seemed to be, for me, 6 groups of cards. There was outdoors, there were rooms, there were portals, there was sacred geometry, there were people, and then I called it the curiosity shelf.
Yes.
And you called it rooms, relics, and remembering. So I think I did pretty good without reading the book for that. Go me.
Yeah.
And I love that you could use these cards and not even read the book because they speak to you. The images are so prolific with dense and rich information.
Yes.
That you can't miss it. I mean, what is a dragonfly? Transformation. You could just look at it. It's just all there for you to partake of. Yeah.
So
I found that sorry.
Go ahead, Linda, please.
I found that sometimes my depending on, I don't know, depending on what, but depending on the inspiration I get, but sometimes my interpretation changes slightly. I noticed that recently, that I'll pull a card for someone and I'll say something a little different, or maybe a lot different than I did the last time I pulled that card, like last week. And I found that still connected, still, I believed legitimately part of the inherent message in the card, but a slightly different focus, slightly different perspective. And I'm fascinated by that because I haven't experienced that before.
Yeah, I experienced that where depending on who it is you're reading for, you're going to be getting information that corresponds. It's going to have the base root of what that card is, but you're still going to pull in specific details and information that relate to that person, that sitter, the person that you're reading. So yeah, absolutely. That's when you know you're really in the flow. You're really flowing with that stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
And I agree with what Beth says, that's the sign of a good oracle in her mind.
It really is.
It really is. Yeah.
Really, it lets you take that ball and run with it. It's like you sink into that foundation and go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Linda, would you like to share one of your favorite cards? I mean, and by the way, this is asking like a parent, which of their children is their favorite.
It is
really, really hard, but I forced the issue. So
okay, it's I gotta put the extra glasses on to be able to read the number. Oh my goodness, what is this? Of course. Okay, so my very, very favorite card in the deck, my most beloved card in the deck, my favorite child is card number 49, Fierce Compassion. What? What is it, fellow Canadian?
It's my favorite too.
I love this card. I just want to stare at it and hold it next to my heart and just go, yeah, exactly. I hear you. I see you. I feel you. This is such a beautiful, I keep saying the word juicy, but juicy and filling, and just so, there's so much in there for me. This is my absolute favorite card in the whole deck.
Yeah, me too.
That's a gorgeous card.
That was a negotiation. That creating that card was a negotiation because I work with Sekhmet a lot. She's
oh gosh, and funny you should say Sekhmet. I've been getting so much channeling in from Sekhmet, and I'm like, Sekhmet, who's Sekhmet?
Yeah,
I had to look it up, and here you are.
Yeah, I mean, she was one of the goddesses of ancient Egypt that they have statues of, right? Like she's war and healing. So there was Sekhmet, and then the ascended Sekhmet, who was Hathor, the cow.
Which I actually have an image of here because I work with that energy. So that all makes sense. Yeah.
I also work with Sekhmet.
Yeah. So well, she's obviously set up this lunch for us.
Apparently.
I think so.
I don't know her at all. I have not had any contact with Sekhmet.
Coming in like crazy.
Oh yeah, you'll love her. I mean, she is.
Oh yeah.
I always say I was with my teacher a few weeks ago in person. I hadn't seen him in person in quite some time, but we were together. We were just talking about Sekhmet because he's been having his own experiences. But I said, don't you think it's funny when we, because I'll shamanic journey to her. And I said, she always says the same thing to me, which is stand up. Because I'm always bowing. I mean, she's like, stand up, like get up. I'm like, okay. But I think she's that, she's the divine mother, the fierce compassion, right? The eye of Ra. Yeah. So there's a massive picture of her beside me that's printed out.
Gosh.
Picture, but
sure.
I have to get a picture of her. She's really so powerful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I find I'm building a huge statue of her right now, of course, because that's, it's what I do.
What you do.
It's what I do. It's what you got to do. Now I know how all those got built, right? Because she's so helpful. And then I'm like, I need to see you more often in my own reality. So I'll just build a statue of you. And she's life size. But just a little small thing that I'm doing. But I think, it was a negotiation to put her in the deck and I try to do that. I mean, there's a lot of ascended masters that helped with this work, but her big question, which I love because she's fiercely compassionate, was why? Like, why? And I was like, I mean, the world's kind of, in a bit of a fire cycle. And, snake medicine and all these. And so I had to negotiate with her to create that because she sort of was like, aren't there enough, replicas of me? I was like, yes, but I think people need to really see her. So
and she's coming in. I mean, she's showing up for people. So,
she's spectacular. I mean, she's saved my life on many occasions, but I think that fierce compassion is what we need to deal with these oppressive, and fascist forces, right? I mean, that's exactly the medicine we need. So, because those people didn't receive enough love.
Yeah.
So flooding hatred, or I mean, that's not going to help. So that transmutation, and I think just to touch on the idea of the cards meaning different things. I mean, a big part of my practice is this idea of, as above, so below, but more importantly, the 10,000-foot view. And I sort of see that as, when you go to, Niagara Falls or something like that, and they had that little viewfinder where you could put in and get it closer.
Yep.
It was within our control. It was gentle versus, what I think a lot of us as human beings experience, where there's not ease and grace sometimes. So for us to control the way, so I think the cards probably do that. They do that.
Mhm.
It's the shifting of the lens, so to speak.
Yeah, it does. I mean, they
And
do.
I have to say, Amy, Sekhmet asking you why is such a Sekhmet question. It's like, why? And so
Yeah,
yes.
it's spectacular. For all those who haven't yet met her, I mean, you'll enjoy the process. She is just, she's a great mom. She's a great mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel her, my experience with her personally, she's very motherly to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know about you all, but I never want to piss off a mother, let alone
No, that's right.
I really don't want to.
Very wise. Very wise. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
I'm just
the
saying.
lioness, right? I mean, that, and
Yes.
I'm remembering, especially with lion medicine, right? I mean, it's the females who hunt,
Yeah.
right? So, and it's sort of leaning on that, even who, her partner is in the Egyptian mythology is Ptah, right? Who is like the creator god. So I think, that energy on the planet right now is so needed. And that, she was compassionate enough to humanity that she rose and ascended to become Hathor,
Yep.
who's an even more reasonable mother. So I think, that's sort of the energy that we all need right now, because it's easy to get angry. And I think, the deck, there's not a dark card, right? There's shadow for sure, but there's not, it's all about that.
It's filled with light and information. There's
Yeah.
nothing here that is it's just filled with light. That's all you can say. What is light? Light is the truth. So it's filled with truth and information.
Yeah. I wanted it to feel like home, right? So
Yeah.
and I think, being able to spend that time with those like nature cards or with those, right? In whatever, I mean, it's whatever that medicine is that you need at the time, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. She's a great healer.
Yeah.
yes.
A great healer she is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Val, do you have a card you'd like to share?
Well, there's so many. I mean, I don't have a favorite because they're all my favorite, but I had to do this. So the first card I'm going to show is Illumination, because
What number is that?
that is number 8. So
Thank you.
Illumination is really the pinnacle. I mean, when you have illumination, when things are illuminated, when the shadow is illuminated, we are shadow and light. We are all that, unifying that and transmuting that. You're having illumination when that happens.
Wait a minute. Are you sure it's number 8?
It's number 8. Illumination.
Turn your okay. So it's the one on the back of it's the image on the card, back of the card.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's 11. I'm sorry, elderly eyes. I apologize for the elderly.
I like that. Whatever it was, 8 wanted to be known. 8 wanted to be known today. So we honor you, 8, number 8.
That's the infinity.
8 will be known because that's in my favorite pile.
But 11 is very mystical.
Yes. It's a Metatron, right?
It really is. So that illumination to me is that coalescence of all you coming to that place and pulling within where you realize who you are. You're everything. You're all that is. We are one in divine source. So that is just, to me, gorgeous energy. And that's where we're all headed. That's where we already are, all of this. We just have to let the illusion part, let it dissolve, and here we are, this beautiful light.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and there you go. That eternal keyhole.
Yeah, that eternal keyhole
Yeah.
with Sirius.
Yeah. And you probably already noticed, but there's the final keyhole is the two faces looking at each other, which of course is it's us.
Yeah,
It's
here it
us
is.
looking in
Yeah.
Two faces. Yeah, in the middle, you can see that. Oh, I didn't even notice that in the keyhole.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the images. Right, the noses, the mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was great.
Well, I'm going to bring up one of my favorites, which is card number 8.
Are you just saying that, Gerald?
And I'm just gonna, because card number 8 was so excited, and this is the cardinal directions, and I experience connection and energy, especially with ancestors, Akashic records, past, present, and future, very much like a circuit board.
Mm-hmm.
So this works very well for me.
Yeah.
And so it is a fascinating thing that this is the cardinal directions, because if you understand the cardinal directions, well, it's like I like to travel, and when I travel, I like to wander around where I am. And I made the mistake one time of going to San Francisco, and I had north wrong. I was actually not going north. And if you've ever been to San Francisco, the streets are like this.
Yes.
So I was walking up streets like this and down them. But so this is important for me in particular, because if you know the cardinal directions,
Mhm.
you can find anything. You are
Yeah.
not lost. If you know the directions, you're not lost at all. So
I have to expand on that because
please.
when you open the book, there's that image.
Oh, yeah.
But then it reveals itself. It's the map to the Temple of Wonder,
Oh,
and it's a key.
Oh.
oh.
Hard, the fact that you chose that, Gerald. Like, I love it because it's the entrance of the adventure, right? It's the mall. I'm getting shown, my guides are showing me one of those maps in the mall, that with all the lines and you are here of how to find that, particular retail store. But I think that's, it's knowing that there is there is a grid, right? There is a web of life. There is a circuit board, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a way. Thank goodness.
It also reminds me that if each one of those connections, if one of those connections doesn't work, the whole thing is not going to work as smoothly as it does, which is, and I've said this before, you do what you can do, the best that you can do it in the most authentic manner, because that's what matters. You are building in, you are part of the circuitry, and you don't need to understand where do I fit? Where do I fit? I mean, I don't understand where I fit. So it just keep showing up and do your energy as authentically as you can.
Mhm.
And by the way, that changes every day. Some days you can be a radiant beam, and other days you can just be a little fleck.
Yeah.
It's okay. Just keep doing it.
Just show up.
Yes, I love that so much, Gerald. And I think that's exactly the way that I try to do it, right? Is knowing like we're working on our own little part. Whatever that part looks like, it's like a quilt, right? Like we're working on our corner. We're not worrying about, and we're managing what we're putting into it. And I think if we think of it like a web of life or light, there's holes in parts. We just fix it. We don't worry about, we just do our little part. And again, as you said, Gerald, like some days it's like we may get an acre done. And then there might be days where we didn't get out of the bed, and that's okay, right?
Yep.
Because I think that's all part of that cycle that we're all living within, and nature shows us, right? I always say that about, especially winter. It's winter here right now, and even though it was very nice, a few days ago, and people were wearing shorts, it's the reminder that like winter's resting, and there will be plenty of time for shorts. So
Yeah.
but I think that's part of what, most of us have been on the, capitalist clock, which is no breaks, all productivity, and that's not working. It's breaking. The wheels are falling off.
It's breaking. The old paradigm that's dissolving. Right.
Amy, did you have a card that you wanted to show, or should I just go for the rest of us? And
you go for the rest of you, because I would have chosen Sekhmet. Like it's already,
okay. So, and again, Amy, this is that time we're heaping praise in your general direction. So thank you for letting us do that. Linda, what's the next card that you have?
Well, the card that what, for favorites?
Yes, or a card you want to talk about. Go for it, Linda.
Okay, well, the next card that I want to talk about is, yes, thank you, Wanda. I appreciate that deeply. Hang on, I got to put my glasses on over top of my glasses again. It's card number 19, and it's Crossroads. Now, I get, and I'm so happy you're here, Amy, just to answer this question. Why the raccoon?
Oh.
I went to the book for like probably the first time, and because I get the crossroads, and I get the some of the symbols that you've included in the chest piece and the neck piece and so on, and I get the whole thing of crossroads, but why a raccoon? I went to the book. There's not a word about it.
So this is a little side quest that we'll take. So I tell this story in the book. So when I was going through my shamanic training, I think most people, I thought doing shamanic training was like a course you took on the weekend. That was what I thought it was. I didn't realize it was like an initiation. I didn't get that part. And I mean, I think that's the part that, you're not supposed to get until you're in it. So when I was training, we had, a journey where we were asked to sort of release any holds on other people's power. And so for me, I mean, part of my entire life, I had to mask, right? I couldn't show who I was. And a lot of the things that I, questioned about myself, or, addiction, or trying to hide, the trauma that I had survived, So I had this dream the night before a major training, and it was a dream about this like rolling rack of masks and stuff, like theater stuff being rolled into the dream. And in the dream and in the morning, I was very judgmental, and I thought, well, that's because, some of these people are hiding who they are, of course, because it's never about you. It's never about, that's part of the healing work of like, going through ego death, is realizing it's you. So we were doing this ceremony and releasing power, and I got shown to go and do this ceremony near the water. And this was in like a suburban area of Toronto. This was not like a natural, ecosystem landscape. So my teacher told us to go out. He partnered us with, other practitioners and sent us out into the woods, which was like a ravine behind his house. And I started doing this ritual. And of course, I had told everyone about the dream. And I started to do this ritual. And as I was, I was told to throw these pieces of, power that I had taken from mostly men, which, that was my trauma. So I was releasing these pieces back into the water. And as I was doing it, these beams of light were coming and like hitting these pieces of rock that I threw in. And of course, that's why you have a witness. So the woman who was with me and witnessing this was like, keep going. So I kept going, and I looked down, and there's these bones at my feet, these little bones. So she says, keep going. So I keep going. And when we're finished, of course, I go down and I grab these bones and I bring them back to my teacher and I put them in front of him. And he's like, raccoon. And I thought, oh, like that dream with the mask and the raccoon. And so I thought, okay. And so I'm looking up raccoon medicine. And I mean, this is shamanism 101, right? Where you start training and this is what starts to happen. So I go home that evening. I leave the bones on his, dresser, like, here I am leaving bones all over the place. Another part of shamanism. I leave these bones. And I get home and I'm telling my mom, who's also a witch and a shamanic practitioner, I'm talking to her on the phone, and I said, I can't believe this is raccoon. And I open the door, and I show this in the retreat, but my cushions on my outdoor couch are ripped apart, and there's raccoon prints all over. And so while I was having this dream, here was a raccoon in my backyard ripping apart my stuff. And then I sent the pictures to my teacher, because of course I had found these bones. I sent them to Daniel, and he responded right away, and he was like, holy shit. And I said, holy shit, indeed. Like, what am I supposed to do now? And he was like, well, you have to journey to Raccoon. So I journeyed to Raccoon, and I was like, what is all this? Like, what's this about? And it was a raccoon that looked exactly like that, with all the necklaces and gems and jewels and stuff. And he was like, there's nothing bad about masks. Like, that can be a part of who you are. And like, there's no judgment towards it. Like, you need to remember to play. And then he kind of went like this, like, give me something. And I was like, oh, okay. And I kind of gave him like a little treasure, and off he went. And so I have a head, and he told me, that was the other thing he told me. He said, make a headdress from my bones. And I was like, okay. So I show the headdress in my retreats, so there's a headdress. And when we moved to this property where we live now, so there were jaw bones, which is what I had on that journey, but I found a skull when I moved to this property. So there's a skull that goes on the headdress, but every few years, raccoon will show up in my life to make a trade.
Wow.
So so I see them at the crossroads, these little negotiators, so.
Wow, that's an amazing story.
That helps me a lot. That helps me a lot. Thank you for the masterclass.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a reminder for all of us, right? Of that being at the crossroads doesn't have to mean the end. It could just mean that we're changing. Like I think of the great David Bowie, right? Who would change eras, right? Yeah. He would present a new character when he was done with the last one. And I think that can be a crossroad, right? This reinvention and change.
Reinvention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
Never look at that card the same, Linda.
Oh, exactly. Right.
I have never pulled this card in a reading.
You will now. The raccoon's going to show up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Three times in a show. Absolutely. From now on, raccoon is going to be there.
And I apologize for anyone watching if there's raccoons this evening, in your home. So.
Val, do you have another card you'd like to share?
I do. And it just happens to be my eyes work for me, 64, the big picture. So this is really the big picture. This is why I love this card so much. You see it's like opened up to the sky there at the top. When you see, you're not down in the weeds anymore, and you see the big picture of everything. Suddenly you get the perspective of what it all is about, what's going on. And you see, the illusionary matrix you're in, you see the 3D, you see all of that. And that you are the consciousness projecting into this arena that you're looking at, where everyone is you, projecting something to you. But you can't see it unless you're up here. You people get in the weeds of being traumatized by and being triggered rather by experiences. And when you're in the trigger and you're in that weeds, you're in that, you're stuck in it. But to unhook and to be in the big picture is that release of your ego self kind of thing, where you're trapped in what somebody else thinks about you, what somebody else is, nobody can make you feel anyway. You make yourself feel. So why not choose the highest perspective of bringing in
51. Yes, this idea of the big picture and this zooming out, right? Which is funny that, of course, we had talked about this idea of, the 10,000 foot view. But I think, that this idea of there being, and that is the observation deck, right? Like that there's an observation deck where we can take a beat And again, I think that's something that we've forgotten, right? This idea and remembering that we can take a beat, to think about things or to process what's happening.
Yes.
And we don't live in a culture of that. And I think even doing a reading sometimes is that little act of revolution, right? Or we can take that moment to get the 10,000 foot view on something.
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
again drives traditional capitalists crazy, right? To be like, I need to take a reading on this. And it's like, no, we have to make the decision now. And I think that's, we're seeing the effects of that.
Yeah.
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 Thank you for the help. I was desperately trying to find the
I
big,
typed the wrong number, but
and
yeah.
it's okay. And what's funny is I lost sight of the big picture because I was stuck in the little details.
Oh yeah. See, being stuck in those details. Yeah. I know, like you say, Amy, it's really true. We go in and out of the big picture. We can be down in the weeds and then we flip up, take a second and flip up to that big picture. And that's the beauty of it. You can do that. You can do that.
It's a superpower. I think
It's a superpower.
that the ability to sort of flip around with our intention, or I used to, because I'm a producer, calling it like zooming in and zooming out, or a rack focus, right? That's what happens when you go from one to another. So I think we all have that ability. Maybe we're the only mammals who can do that, right? I mean, I don't know. But I think that's such a beautiful part of our consciousness, right? As Earth isn't in heaven, or however we want to say it, that ability to get that guidance and reassurance, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I love having your perspective on the cards.
So good, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Also, okay, and just to, this is the purchase responsibly, know your limits. We're here to share, not to sell. Links to Amy's website are below to where you can buy the book. You can also get the
I'm
deck.
gonna have to buy the book.
So, be aware of that. And if you like to get into that, you like going down that rabbit hole. Ooh, can you imagine what this deck would be like for bibliomancy? Or the book would be like for bibliomancy.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're over an hour already. I'm going to show this card, and this is imagination. And I am curious, Amy, why are you in one of my inner temple spaces, and who gave you permission?
You did, Gerald. I mean, why are you asking?
So,
right. So yeah, I mean, this is what began to happen, right? As I began to channel spaces that are spaces in consciousness. So I don't know if any of you have listened to the telepathy tapes, the podcast, but there's
I've listened to the whole thing.
the hill, right? The hill.
Yeah.
And there's a location in the book called the Garden, and I've gotten more than a few messages from people saying, "Hey, like, how did you know where I meditate from?" So I think that's why it's called an interdimensional adventure, is that places exist in consciousness, and that we have these experiences, and that when we, especially, I always say, and so does Damien Eccles, that the Bible is a great book of magic. And when you think about it as that these people may have been visiting places in consciousness, it makes a lot more sense that someone like Jesus of Nazareth walked on water. So these ideas that we saw things together, that we had these experiences, and welcoming that, right? Again, it's what we've forgotten, this idea that we can have a meditation or a journey experience where we go to the same locations in spirit. Which I think is just such a beautiful gift, especially in these times, right, of grief and loss and change, to be able to be in communion with those spaces, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Linda or Val, were there any cards you definitely want to share with the group?
Absolutely share. I really love. There's so many. It's just so hard.
No, this is why I'm the one asking the question. Meanwhile, you see me frantically underneath the camera going, "Oh my God, which one am I going to pick? Which one?"
I love a whole self, power place, alchemist, unconditional. I love them all so much, but I'm going to pick up alchemist, which is 24. Yeah. Because alchemist, you can alchemize anything. The energy of a room, yourself, whatever's going on, the power that you have is astronomical. So there you are. It's magic.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yep.
never, never think you can't be. You are an alchemist.
Exactly.
You do this. You shift everything.
Exactly. I'm one of those people, I put little affirmations on all my stuff. So like on my phone, it says, because I'm always checking alerts.
Yeah.
So it says trust divine timing. And on my mirror, it says you can do anything. And I think, it's part of what we've forgotten. We forget that we are catalysts.
Yes.
And that, whether it's choosing to walk a different way home or whether it's, concentrating in, I always say clients will, sometimes they see me and they don't believe in anything and they don't think they can, pick a card for themselves or whatever. And of course, that's not true. Right. And I always say, you're not going to be the first person who this doesn't work for. Right. Like that's not going to.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, sharing these experiences, having these types of conversations and being an alchemist in our own stories helps other people and encourages them to.
It really does. Yeah.
Right? To
Yeah, because you are a catalyst. You are everything that you do, and all the people who come in contact with you are shifting because of you, and your energy are shifting, whether you know it on one level or you're super conscious and you're actually, exuding whatever you want, the light, the information. Codes of light are coming out from you no matter where you are, and people are shifting. So you're right. The path you take home, the way where you go or to a restaurant to eat, you're sitting there and all of these people are shifting. You shift a room with your energy. So
yeah, if you don't like what's going on, alchemize the environment and the situation and yourself. You have to, there's opportunity to alchemize not just who you are, although that's probably the best place to start.
Yes.
Because if you can do one thing with magic, it's you can change yourself.
Yes.
And that's where you start. And then, it all exudes from there, that beautiful energy.
Yeah. Well, finding the others, right? When you start, and I think that goes back to this idea of, if we're weaving, our own energy and we're, whether, again, that's horizontal and watching 90 Day Fiance, or whether that's, actively being in meditation, right?
Right.
We have to account for dealing with jerks. Right? Like there's jerks in the world. So how do we deal with it? Which is fierce compassion, alchemist lab.
Yes.
Right? Where it's like, I'm going to be the lab. I'm going to manage. And as you said, polarize the energy of the room.
Yeah.
Always where it's like, even if that's what you're doing for entertainment while you're in a waiting room, or whatever those things are.
I love doing that.
Yes. And that's what I used to do when I was younger in the office. And I'd have these co-workers who were, or a boss, and I just do all this alchemizing, and all this shift would take place.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know what hit them because I'd be different in my own energy relating to them. That is me using my alchemy.
And I always say to people, it's not about imposing free will, because I think people are like, hey, wait a second, right? But it's about
myself.
As you said, Val, like shining our light all the time, 360 degrees. It's always happening. We don't know, right? And my teacher always says to me, you're not responsible for how people respond to your medicine.
Exactly.
Right? Your job is to just do the work and I think that's where we're all sitting at these individual parts of our, quilt or web or however we want to see it, and having these moments where we realize we can alchemize by adding more light.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely. And that's exactly it. Adding more light.
In my career, the last 10 years, I moved around a lot. And I had a lot of people who told me, boy, I don't know what you did, but the whole place changed. And I'm like, thank you. And
thank you.
I made a choice.
Yes.
I had crystal grids galore.
Yep.
I walked around the place changing the energy, and I was smiling, and I was seeing people for what they bring. Yeah. And I was reminding them of the light they have forgotten that they have within themselves.
That is just so beautiful, because when you bring, that the glass is half full, not half empty, and you see the beauty, the soul in everyone, they react. without even realizing it. It is a real thing.
It's
folks.
huge. It's huge.
It's a real energy thing.
Yes. Yes. Linda, what would you like to share? What card?
Card number 58, Divine Order. It's a wonderful reminder for me. Okay. I mean, everybody else, you pick your own, but for me, it's a wonderful reminder that I am part of the universe. I am part of this divine order. I have an active role to play. And that this ties in with what we've all been talking about for the last hour. That role is to be who I am as purely and as mindfully, I guess is the word, I'm not sure, but as purely as I can be myself to do that is my role in the divine order, and that I'm part of it, and that I'm just as important. I forget that, and then I find myself sort of spiraling and going, oh, you can't do anything, that whole routine. I don't even want to say the words, and I love this card. I mean, this is just so, look, I mean, just
It reminds you, it reminds you of who that you really are here doing a specific role, a task, an energy, and that the whole can't be complete without you doing your part of it in this divine order.
And so, but just look at the image. I mean, it's another really juicy image. Okay, this wizard, at least I think of him as a wizard, is surrounded by divine light. He has a portal behind him, and all of these leaves, I think, leaves and things, not just, he's levitating the damn work table he's working on, for crying out loud. At the same time that he's working on it, he's whirling the leaves around to create, I don't know, what could it be? And I mean, big magic right here.
Yes.
Big magic.
I agree with you, Linda. This is one of my favorite cards because the card title is Divine Order. And for someone who with an untrained eye, this may look like chaos. And that reminds me that I have to have a level of trust that things are going in the right order.
That's exactly
That's exactly right.
And it's a great experience because this is a moment before everything solidifies.
Yes.
And I don't want my doubt to get into the way to make that, that creator, that person, that sage have to work extra hard.
Yeah. I love that. I love that, Gerald.
Yeah. Trust is a big part of that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. It is.
So that's Lao Tzu. That's who that was meant.
That's what I thought.
That's it from the Tao Te Ching. That's, for me, he is such a wizard and an alchemist, and the order and Tai Chi and all of the the cardinal directions. I mean, what I love about the cards that you've all shared is that there is a very big pattern, right, of the alchemist and the alchemist lab and the cardinal directions and that fierce compassion and mothering for people. And polarizing the energy of a space versus taking it on, right?
Yes. Yeah. I want to show one more card, and then I have a story to show people from 3 cards that I saw, just to show the power of storytelling in the cards. And I love this card, Perspective.
Yeah, me too. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, Beth was like, this has a steampunk feel to it. And I said, well, yes, it does. And one of the things that I love about this card is because I've not read with this deck yet because I wanted to do the deck casual first. And what's great is when this card's going to show up, it's going to say, you are not seeing with all of your vision that you have available to you. You need to activate your third eye. You need to shut down your right and your left eye and see with your inner eye. You need to look with your third eye. You need to Maid Mother Crone this whole thing, because when we have a monocle, it's alone. bifocals or, binoculars are one thing. Imagine upping that to a third level. We can see it. We can see the vibrations that are not
Yeah.
registering.
There you go. Oh my gosh. That is one of my favorite cards. But then they're all my favorite cards.
Well, I love that here I was talking about the, looking through the viewfinder at Niagara Falls. I mean, that's the viewfinder, right? It's
Yeah.
Right.
I call it the prospector of perspective, right? Where you imagine it like
That's
this,
it.
this wise person holding you and reminding you to, as Gerald said, look with all three eyes, right? Use your gifts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is really.
I pulled that card yesterday when I was doing a reading for my friend Brenda, Gerald. I pulled that card, perspective, and we talked about it afterwards. And one of the things that came out is that, okay, so it's all those trinities, all right, but it's also the whole thing of, okay, what's the there's what you saw, there's what I saw, and there's the truth.
Yeah.
That whole.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that card too. I think it's great.
3 sides to every story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Your version and the truth.
Well, and there was it was before he passed away, but the great Prince had glasses like that. He had sunglasses like that he wore for a show of the three. The third eye was higher. But I just love that idea of, and for me, it was that he was covering his third eye. But that idea of really just, remembering all the pieces, right? Mind, body, spirit, as you said, like, my truth, the other person's experience, and then the actual truth. And I think that's what we should all be thinking about, especially in these times, right? To make sure that it feels right inside.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I was, because I'm an hashtag overachiever, I was laying all these cards out and looking at the story, and I was like, ooh, that card relates to that card. And I'm going to put these back in the order that I originally had them. We have card 63, Eternal Life.
Yes.
And then we have card 53, Ancestors.
Oh.
Note, there are two figures here. There's 2 figures here. And part of what happens is when we understand the idea of eternal life and our constant connection to ancestors, it does give us the ability to do some shadow work. Because, look,
Gerald, you blow my mind.
And there's a dark figure and a light figure.
Yeah.
This is not to be discounted. This is part of the energy building, the strengthening, the unweaving, the allowing the flow of energy. Because when energy does not flow, it's going to find a way to come out, and it's not going to be in the most constructive manner that one might desire. So, and Prince, you brought up Prince in, the soundtrack to Batman.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
your Jack Nicholson say, have you danced? You want to dance with the devil? It's like, well, here's the thing. Of course I want to dance with the devil. I'm leading.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the shadow, you embrace your shadow. It's part of you. And as you bring it in and you transmute it, it's all light anyway. So that's the beauty of Earth School, is to be able to see that shadow part and work with it and understand it, because you're right. Embrace it. Don't run away from it.
Yeah. And, and then, because, there's always a thing. When one does their shadow work, they are able to connect with their ancestors, who want nothing more than to help people experience eternal life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that, Gerald. Those were great. 3 great cards together.
And by the way, this is all possible because of, Amy, I'm going to keep praising your general direction, of this person who is leaning in and allowing some important energy to flow through and to manifest, through yourself, and I have to say thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for seeing it. Thank you for getting it. Thank you for following me down the rabbit hole.
Oh, I love a good rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah.
Me too.
There's
Nothing
nothing
better
like
than a nice, twisty, windy rabbit hole. Yep.
Well, it makes me think that really, I mean, we've just had this beautiful time together at a lunch table, and my lunchbox was the cover of this book, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
I love it. I love
Hershey's like good. Oh, I don't, I'll add it to my list. Oh, and one of her guides was actually saying, it's like, okay, I can't wait to see it. I think Miles is going crazy. Miles is one of Hershey's guides, and it's just like, boom, and she, Hershey the shadow reader.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
Amy, what is coming up for you? What's going on?
We just released the audiobook and the ebook. So there's like finally like a read along, and it is me that reads it. So it was really fun.
Nice.
There's actual rituals that I lead in it, which I'm really excited about. So some sound and vision. And then also we will be releasing an album. So I've had a bunch of musicians that are friends of mine, etc. But they were like, "When's the album?" And I was like, "What album?" So we're going to be, I know, I'm just catching up. So we're going to be releasing it this summer. And I'm excited to get back in the saddle with retreats. So we'll be doing our first in-person retreat because we were doing this during the pandemic. And really just excited about re-entering the world as a collaborator. So
Wow.
thank you.
Yay. Thank you for your beautiful energy, Amy.
Oh,
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful for the invitation.
Such a
Thank
treat.
you.
Yeah.
And
Thank you so much for this deck. It has
Treasure.
Oh,
it's a treasure. It's a treasure, and it has helped me, or no, wait, it has provided a whole uncountable amount of insight and guidance for people who are asking questions, and yeah, it's a real treasure.
Thank you. That makes my heart sing. Thank you.
Oh, good.
so thank you to everyone who has watched the playback. Thank you. Links to everyone's channels or contact information is in the description below. Again, purchase responsibly, know your limits. We're here to share, not to sell. I will probably be heading over to the store and might be purchasing the book because, I mean, a way to geek me out is to go, but look, there's Easter eggs. Look, there's rabbit holes.
I know, right? We have to go get the whole collection, or we might be missing a rabbit hole to go down.
It's okay. It's okay. So all right. Thank you all. All of us hang out for a second, and we will say farewell. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
I know.